The man has returned 99 times, finally reaching the lair of the last leader. On this perilous journey, he is the only survivor. He believed this time would grant him a smooth return, but to his dismay, 5 players are required to unlock the door to the chamber. With no one near the leader, failure to meet the requirement means instant obliteration within 5 seconds. The protagonist swings his scythe in desperation, but it proves futile. Before he knows it, the 5 seconds have passed, and the system activates the chance for him to reincarnate for the 100th time. The protagonist realizes this is his final opportunity. The system whisks him back to the very first day of the game. In the bustling square, countless youths gather, laughing and celebrating the arrival of the new year. A man, filled with determination, gazes at his hands. He is Lu Mun, the one who has endured 100 cycles of rebirth. The protagonist casts a glance at his former classmate, Huang Vin Min, hesitating over whether to choose him as an ally. Yet he knows this fellow is a bully, and he himself was once a victim of his tyranny. Soon, the chime of midnight resonates through the air. The new year arrives, accompanied by an angelic radiance. The previously dark night suddenly bursts into light as if it were day. People gaze up in awe at the heavens where the angel lingers, but only the protagonist gazes back at this deceitful figure with a gaze filled with ruthless disdain. Even after experiencing it 100 times, he still felt a deep revulsion. The angel looked down with contempt upon the masses, those foolish and frail beings mesmerized by his beauty. He sneered, "I advise you not to harbor wicked thoughts, for what awaits you is nothing but death." A man pointed at the angel, cursing him in defiance. "What the hell are you? What nonsense are you spouting?" In the blink of an eye, the angel's eyes glowed a blood red, and he swiftly silenced the man forever. How dare this lowly creature show disrespect towards me? The crowd trembled in fear, their hearts pounding as the angel's voice rang out. "You fools, listen closely. The game begins now. On the first of every month, you will participate in a deadly contest. There will be a total of 20 rounds. Your souls will be cast into a new realm. At the start of the game, only half of you will survive each round. Just complete the tasks, and you will return to reality with your rewards." On this day, chaos erupted across the globe. Those aged between 15 and 29 would be drawn into this brutal survival game. No sooner had the angel finished speaking than everyone was transported into the game. As the crowd marveled at their new forms, the angel reappeared. "It seems you are quite fond of the new images I've crafted for you. I've prepared a little gift in your system interface. If you complete all 20 rounds, you shall leave with your rewards. The leader can even grant a wish. Now, let us unveil my gift." Instantly, everyone began rummaging through their inventory, discovering a random rune artifact with a single-use attribute. The protagonist activated the rune. To his surprise, he received a timer reversal rune. However, the rune was etched incorrectly. The system soon realized that the protagonist was the 100th person to travel back from the future, earning the title of Time Reverser. The effect was that upon death, he could pause for a minute, fully revived. Yet, after using the title, it would vanish. The protagonist eagerly eyed the resurrection skill, which could only be utilized by priests. Moreover, it would only restore 30 life points. To prevent others from discovering he was a reincarnator, he decided to set his title to Hidden Mode. Once everyone had finished using their items, the angel snapped his fingers, and all present players received a quest. Each person was tasked with defeating 100 goblins to complete it. But the number of goblins was limited, and at that moment, a goblin appeared not far away. As excitement bubbled among the players, akin to a thrilling game, the angel smirked mockingly. He relished witnessing the growing despair on the faces of these humans. In the next instant, countless beams of light erupted on the field, as 10,000 humans faced off against 50,000 goblins. Let the game begin. Seeing the goblins rushing towards them, a wave of fear swept through the crowd. At that moment, the main character stepped forward, delivering a powerful kick that sent a goblin flying. He understood the significance of first impressions within a group. Only by demonstrating overwhelming strength could he instill fear in others. More importantly, he needed to capture the attention of the angel. The protagonist quickly drew his new weapon, and charged toward the goblins. Witnessing him effortlessly slaying the goblins, the others felt a surge of confidence flood over them. Though they may not be as powerful as the so-called Black Short Sword, it was undeniable that goblins were the weakest monsters in the game. Just as the group was brimming with excitement and readying themselves, a goblin suddenly struck down a man in the blink of an eye. In that instant, they grasped the harsh reality. They were utterly outmatched by the goblins. Panic set in as they scattered in all directions, but the area was tightly barricaded. The only way to escape was to complete the mission. It dawned on them that this was no mere game. Swiftly, everyone armed themselves against the goblins, while the angel eagerly observed the slaughter unfolding before him. Before long, he recognized the unique prowess of the protagonist. The hero struck with blinding speed, harvesting the lives of the goblins with ruthless efficiency. He had poured all his upgrade points into agility. Agility not only increased his movement speed, but also enhanced his attack speed and evasion rate. In no time, the mission was accomplished. The protagonist has now risen to become the leader of this region. The 3 top players will each receive a bonus, a rare weapon exchange ticket at the minimum level. Meanwhile, the overall champion will be rewarded with a special prize chest. Without hesitation, the protagonist gazes at the weapons before him and makes his choice instantly. To shorten his playtime, he frantically summons 50,000 goblins. In no time, the number of players who completed the mission reaches the required count. Those who have yet to finish plead for assistance from the angel, but she pays them no mind. The angel swiftly intervenes, wiping out the players who failed to complete their tasks. At that moment, the system announces that the overall leader is none other than the Black Scythe. Everyone turns their gaze toward the protagonist. Even the angel herself watches him intently. Yet, the protagonist boldly demands an increase in the rewards for the top player. No one could have anticipated his true intention. The protagonist's aim was to provoke his adversary. Confronting the arrogant angel, he launches a lightning-fast attack, ruthlessly shattering her wings. Previously, he had deliberately requested the angel to raise the stakes. His goal was to infuriate his opponent, knowing full well that the angel had only one chance in the game to eliminate others. Moreover, she dared not kill indiscriminately in front of so many onlookers, for it would give the players a pretext to retaliate, risking her position if discovered by her superiors. The angel would face harsh punishment. Therefore, in order to eliminate the protagonist, no player could witness the angel leading him deep into the forest. Little did they know, this was precisely what the protagonist desired. As the angel's attention faltered, he seized the moment and launched a lightning-fast attack. Confronted with the sudden turn of events, the angel seethed with rage. As he turned, ready to strike down the protagonist, he found him standing right behind. One hand grasped the angel's wing, while the other tightened around his throat, and in an instant, the protagonist tore his wings apart. The protagonist stood triumphantly over the fallen angel, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Brill, it's been a while. Is it painful? I thought you loved to show off. Come on, get up and kill me." Hearing his name from the protagonist's lips, the angel was momentarily taken aback. "Who are you? What do you want?" "You don't need to know that. Just understand that your death is imminent." The angel screamed in fury. "Aren't you afraid of my comrades seeking revenge?" The protagonist scoffed. "Your comrades? What do they have to do with me? Angels are nothing but deceivers. No one cares about your life or death." Faced with the protagonist's mockery, the angel was truly frightened. He begged for mercy, pleading not to be killed. But as soon as the angel's panic became evident, the protagonist thrust a blade straight through his heart. The system also announced that the title of First Slayer of Angels had been obtained. The effect is to face off against divine opponents with doubled abilities. At the same time, he received Angel's Blood and the Curse of Death. This was a secret the protagonist had learned from previous loops. The effect of the Curse of Death is that each time an enemy is slain, one attribute increases, stacking up to a maximum of 100. The effect lasts for one turn. However, the protagonist's real goal is the Angel's Blood, an essential item for the hidden class transition to Deathbringer. All players can change professions upon reaching level 10. After that, the protagonist opened the special reward chest from the regional leader. To his surprise, the reward was exactly the experience boost he needed most. When the first round ended, everyone returned to the real world. Those who awakened felt as if they had just emerged from a vivid dream. They checked the bodies lying motionless on the ground and realized that what they had just experienced was not a dream. The ones killed in the game were truly dead. At that moment, Huang Vintming caught sight of a man clad in armor. Instinctively, he tried to open his attribute panel. Then, Huang Vintmin picked up a stone and, to his astonishment, crushed it effortlessly. This left him bewildered, as he now stood on equal footing with the wealthy and the powerful. Now he no longer has to lament his humble beginnings. News of this incident quickly spread across the globe, echoing similar events. Investigations revealed that all individuals aged 15 to 29 had suddenly collapsed, and the surviving ones were bestowed with extraordinary powers. The protagonist fully understands the gravity of the situation. As players' levels increase, so does their strength. In that moment, they could become an uncontrollable alliance, a force of destruction. If this continues, it's likely that before reaching the 20th round, Earth will be laid waste by these players. However, there's only one solution to wield his overwhelming power to bring them under control. Not long after, the protagonist returns home and sees his younger brother still peacefully asleep. A gentle smile graces his face, for their parents had passed away in a tragic accident. Thus, Liu Yuan became the only family left for the protagonist. The next day, he shares with his brother everything that transpired the previous night. Upon hearing this, the younger brother grows anxious for him. Looking at the wound on his brother's hand, a heavy burden of guilt weighs on his heart. He feels like a useless older brother, having been oblivious to the pain his sibling endured from school bullying. It was only when the protagonist's younger brother was beaten to the point of losing both eyes that he learned of this cruel reality. Without hesitation, he rushed to confront the bully, Feng Taikui. With a fierce shout directed at Lu Yin, he warned that if they didn't pay up for protection, he wouldn't hold back. At that moment, the protagonist stepped forward, unwavering and resolute. "You're the one who's been bullying my brother, aren't you?" he demanded. "Today, I'll teach this fool a lesson." Enraged, Feng Taikui swung his arm at the protagonist, but he deftly sidestepped and countered with a lightning-fast palm strike, shattering one of his opponent's teeth. In a furious rage, Feng Taikui lunged at him again. The protagonist immediately delivered a powerful kick to his chin. Trembling, Feng Taikui looked up at him, pleading for mercy. Yet the protagonist tightened his grip on his hand, coldly stating, "If I find out you've bullied my brother again, I won't hesitate to end you." With that, he twisted and broke the bully's hand in a swift, merciless motion. On their way home, the younger brother asked when he would learn martial arts. The protagonist explained that gamers could utilize their abilities in reality. As he spoke, he drew a short sword from thin air. The sight of the blade materializing left the younger brother in utter awe. The protagonist answered all of his brother's questions, but kept the fact that he was a reincarnated being a secret. Previously, there had been other players who had abducted his brother. Although he wasn't harmed, the protagonist wanted to shield him from any danger stemming from his own actions. To protect his brother more effectively, he would do whatever it took. The protagonist leads Liu Yuan to a convenience store, under the astonished gaze of his younger brother, as he purchases 100 lottery tickets along with a few other items. The first thing this man does upon being reborn is buy those 100 tickets because he vividly remembers the winning numbers. After witnessing his actions, his brother suspects he's lost his mind. The younger brother anxiously watches the live draw, not daring to believe that they actually won. His heart races as he looks at the protagonist. "Brother, I'm not dreaming, am I?" Once he receives a confirmation from his older brother, he leaps for joy, unable to contain his excitement. The protagonist, seeing his brother's ecstatic reaction, feels a surge of happiness himself. In truth, the first time he hit the jackpot, he was just as exhilarated. After dozens of wins, this has become a routine every time he reincarnates, as it's the quickest way to amass wealth. The next morning, the protagonist brings the lottery tickets to the bank. When the bank staff learns that he has won 100 first prizes, they immediately call the director. The director rushes in to personally welcome the protagonist to the VIP room. The protagonist hands the tickets to the staff for verification, and the girl gasps in amazement at the tickets laid out before her. It's unbelievable. 100 first prize tickets amount to a staggering 22.5 billion won, with after-tax earnings around 15 billion won. Afterward, the protagonist opens a stock account and uses 14 billion of his winnings to invest heavily in cryptocurrency. Once everything is set up, he prepares for the next phase of his adventure. The main character leads his younger brother to a luxurious apartment complex. The brother's eyes light up with excitement as he takes in the opulent exterior of the building. Upon entering the room, his eyes sparkle even brighter. This is the first time he's ever been in such a high-end place. But when he learns that the rent is 2.2 million, he is instantly overwhelmed and dizzy. His legs feel like jelly. "Brother, this place is way too expensive. We should look for something cheaper." At this moment, the main character reassures his brother, saying, "Every day on the first, all players fall into a deep slumber. During this time, they are at their most vulnerable. To ensure our safety, we need to stay here." Hearing his brother's words, the younger brother immediately feels disheartened. "Brother, I'm sorry. Next month you have to go to another world to fight, and I'll just be here, smiling foolishly. It's all my fault for being useless." The main character gently pats his brother's back. "Don't worry, I'm really strong. I promise I'll be fine." The next morning, the younger brother calls his brother to go get a birthday cake. The main character seems skeptical at first, but the younger brother explains, "We just moved in, so of course we should get to know our neighbors." After thinking for a moment, the main character agrees that it makes sense and goes with his brother. When they arrive at the neighbor's house to deliver the cake, the neighbors greet the two brothers warmly. However, when they reach the last house, they are unexpectedly confronted by the famous actress, Hua Ah-lin. The bodyguard mistakenly thinks the two are obsessive fans and immediately steps in front of Hua Ah-lin. They refuse to accept the pastries from the two brothers and sent them away. The older brother immediately comforted his younger sibling, "Don't pay attention to those rude people." However, the younger brother was bursting with excitement. "Brother, that woman just now was the superstar Hua Ah-lin." The protagonist felt it was utterly absurd. At that moment, Hwang Vin-min was buzzing with excitement as he tested his newfound strength. In the game, he had drawn double the power, and all his attributes had skyrocketed. Gazing at the shattered wall, he eagerly made his way to Lu Mun's house. Unable to contain himself, he knocked on the door, yet no one answered, until the repeated knocking disturbed the homeowner, who informed Hwang Vin-min that the resident had moved out 2 days prior. Realizing Lu Mun had left, Hwang Vin-min clenched his fists in frustration. "Looks like you're quite the runner. If I catch you, I won't let you off easily." In the following days, the protagonist hit the jackpot 4 times. He then added 600 billion virtual currency and took his brother on a wild spree of indulgence. The day to enter the game arrived swiftly. Everyone was forcibly summoned into the gaming world. At that moment, an angel appeared. The crowd quickly recognized that there was a new angel among them. The new angel announced that there was no need to panic and proceeded to explain the mission for the second round. This mission doesn't require fighting, but everyone needs to choose a regional representative. Just by becoming the regional representative, you'll gain the authority to command others. After 3 hours of voting, everything will be settled. Everyone felt a wave of relief wash over them, grateful that they wouldn't have to battle. As they discussed who would take on the role of representative, the main character quietly ventured deeper into the forest, for only he knew that the hidden task within this game was to complete a class change. Meanwhile, his younger brother anxiously gripped his hand. "Brother, you've got to come back alive." With emotions running high, the main character leveled up to level 9 in just 30 minutes. He allocated all his attribute points to speed, as his initial class was already strong in power. Thus, enhancing his speed would provide him with the greatest improvement. At that moment, he suddenly sensed someone watching him and instinctively drew his sword, pointing it behind him. I don't know who you are, but I suggest you show yourself now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Faced with the enticing offer of collaboration from a stunning star, the main character chose to ignore it, instead feeling a keen interest in protecting the one beside him, Reincarnated. To his surprise, he encountered Thien Ma, a henchman of Ma Qingluk. Ma Qingluk was the son of a leading domestic corporation. If he could recruit Ma Qingluk to his team, it would greatly benefit his future development. Based on his prior deductions, the main character had also fundamentally confirmed Xu Yalin. She is an artist under the command of the Demon King. The protagonist questioned her about why she was following him. At that moment, Xu Yaling suggested, "You've secured the top position in the first round, so why don't we team up?" The protagonist scoffed. "Team up? Isn't that only when we need each other? Do you really think you're valuable enough to be needed? Don't waste my time, just get lost." With that, he turned his back and continued deeper into the forest, leaving Xu Yaling sitting on the ground. Truly, the aura of a leader is overwhelmingly powerful. Surely, we all need each other, right? Do you believe you're worthy of being needed? Don't waste my time. Just leave. With that, the protagonist turned and pressed on into the depths of the forest. At that moment, Tunalin sat dejectedly on the ground. She was indeed deserving of her title as the leader. Pressure from him is truly immense. The guards grumbled. Someone with such high self-respect would never team up with others. After leaving, the protagonist dove back into battle. It didn't take long before he had wiped out all the monsters around him. Congratulations, you have reached level 10. You are now qualified for a job change. Congratulations, you have received a hidden side quest. Complete the job change before the voting ends for a reward of a 50 discount voucher at the shop today. Immediately after, the protagonist summoned the blood of the angel, and the system continued to provide suggestions. You have received the job change item. Do you wish to become a Grim Reaper? Without a moment's hesitation, the protagonist felt the pure light around him shift into the ominous red of death. Congratulations, you have successfully changed your class. You have received the Grim Reaper's talisman, and a random piece of golden equipment. When wielding the scythe, your attack power will double. At night, your attack will increase by an additional 50. Under the cover of darkness, your chances of being detected by enemies will significantly decrease. Congratulations, you have gained an exclusive job skill. Deaths mark attack those marked, and your damage will be doubled. Congratulations, you have received the starter equipment, the Grim Reaper's Scythe. Well done, you have completed a hidden quest. Today, you will enjoy a 50 reduction in costs. As the first player to change classes, you will receive a shared tracking skill. Imagine the name and appearance of your target, and you will lock onto their position. At that moment, the protagonist envisioned the appearance of Huang Vintmin. Following the system's guidance, he headed in that direction, inadvertently encountering Huang Vintmin, who was hunting for Tu Na Ling. The protagonist concealed himself in the shadows, observing the unfolding drama. It turns out that upon seeing Tu Na Ling, Huang Vintmin's heart wavered. The one who had once intended to abandon her now hesitated to risk his life over a woman. Yet, if he failed to protect Tu Na Ling, he would let Ma Qingluk down. As Reincarnated hesitated, the weight of the moment pressed heavily upon him. The protagonist stepped forward, like a desperate soul grasping a lifeline, immediately seeking help and vowing to repay the debt of rescue. At that moment, he was fully prepared. Saving their lives would surely bind Ma Jianluo to him with a debt of gratitude. This would be advantageous for future plans. As everyone witnessed the protagonist's overwhelming strength, the idea of retreat began to take shape. With a sly smile, the protagonist declared, "If you kneel and beg for mercy, I might consider sparing you." All eyes turned to Huang Vingmin. For the sake of his pride, Huang Vingmin felt compelled to fight. He thought to himself, "I have the power to shatter walls. I can crush this guy with a single punch." However, the protagonist sheathed his weapon, unwilling to be accused of bullying with it. Suddenly, the protagonist launched a surprise attack, secretly reveling in Huang Vingmin's foolishness. Did he really set aside his weapon just to be defeated? The protagonist seized the advantage of speed, effortlessly dodging Huang Vinmin's attack. The latter suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach, his body flung away. Before he could regain his footing, he was met with a relentless barrage of attacks from the protagonist. It was at this moment that Huang Vinmin truly realized the gap between them. Just then, one of Huang Vinmin's lackeys, hidden in the shadows, shot a cold arrow. The protagonist sensed the threat instantly and dodged swiftly. With movements like a phantom, he drew his scythe and swiftly severed the arm of his opponent. As everyone turned to their comrades, the protagonist launched another fierce assault. In a split second, the arms and legs of the remaining two were severed. Yet the protagonist showed no signs of stopping. He aimed to instill fear deep within them. His gaze fell upon Huang Vinmin, who was hiding behind a tree. With a swift motion, he swung his weapon, slicing through the man's arm. Witnessing the protagonist's cold and ruthless demeanor, Anthong Trit immediately recognized him as a formidable character, one who could stand toe-to-toe with Ma. As the protagonist approached, both men sincerely expressed their gratitude. He simultaneously asked the protagonist why he spared them. He replied, "Reducing numbers doesn't benefit me. It will lessen the competition." Faced with such a cunning mindset, Anthong Trit felt even more convinced of the protagonist's strength, akin to that of Ma. A master like him certainly deserved to be reported to Ma. Then, Anthong Trit inquired about the protagonist's bank account. "Once the game ends, I'll ensure you receive a hefty reward." However, the protagonist bluntly declined. Meanwhile, the others were embroiled in a heated debate over the vote. A man named Bakha Nam stepped in to silence them. The moment he spoke, a hush fell over the crowd, all eyes drawn to him. This man began with a low-level skill, but surprisingly managed to command the attention of those below his level. He should have perished in the first round of the game. However, thanks to his persuasive symbol, he called upon everyone to assist the weak girls, while he would reap the rewards from the goblins set to be slain. Thus, he smoothly completed the first phase, as if he had just discovered a new continent. At this moment, the boy named Bakha was being voted as the representative of the region. Some players were even ready to sacrifice themselves for him. It was all because he had awakened the persuasive emblem capable of recruiting low-level players. When the debate over the regional representative intensified, Bakha instantly intervened. His voice held an enchanting power that made everyone halt their arguments, collectively turning their gazes toward him. The boy Kwasong smirked slyly, realizing how easily manipulated the crowd was. He proposed narrowing down the candidates to just 5 individuals, from which a representative would be selected. The condition was that no one could nominate themselves. Upon hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. Bakha, feeling self-satisfied, observed the crowd. If this continued, it was certain they would choose the most outstanding individual as their representative. Soon enough, someone suggested selecting Bakha as the representative. He immediately switched to a modest demeanor. "Really, I might not be suitable. I fear I lack the capability." The crowd looked at Bakha, who appeared so humble, and showed their support for him. As he stood there, Bakha felt the tide turning in his favor. As visions of a bright future began to emerge, the second figure, the documentary filmmaker, erupted in fury. "I'm so fed up, I can't take this anymore. Just because of this fool, he thinks he can represent the region. Does he really believe a few empty words can fool everyone? Who does he think he is to make such decisions about representation?" Then, he turned to threaten the crowd. "Vote for me, or it'll make you pay with your lives." The boy known as Bakha realized his attempts at persuasion were futile against the filmmaker. He quickly shifted to intimidation. But the filmmaker wouldn't let him deceive anyone in an instant. He drew his knife and slashed at him mercilessly. Bakha, in disbelief, could hardly fathom that he dared to strike. "If you don't vote for me, this will be your fate." The players, unable to accept the reality of murder, pointed fingers at the filmmaker, branding him a killer. Immediately, the filmmaker charged toward the crowd with relentless fury. Those who had criticized him fell victim to his blade, one by one. The filmmaker, consumed by madness, descended into a state of frenzy. "This place is incredible. Here, there are no laws binding us, truly a theme park designed just for me." Fear painted the faces of the crowd. each person terrified that they might be the next to die. In unison, the crowd declared they would vote for the filmmaker. Once I become the regional representative, the first to go will be that Black Blade. Just eliminate him, and I will reign as the leader of this territory. Meanwhile, the protagonist, through relentless slaughter, had already leveled up to 16. With the support of the death symbol and the slaughter symbol, the monsters fell like grass under the scythe. When the voting time ended, all players were forcibly summoned back to the starting point. As they regained their senses, the scene before them left them in shock. Chaos reigned supreme across the battlefield. In the desolate field, a blood-soaked man stood alone in the center. It seemed that this time Zhao Zhongji had taken the initiative. In the real world, Zhao Zhongji was a notorious crime lord, a master of the shadows in this territory. Yet, his personality was as vile as they come. This was the gaze of Zhao Zhongji, directed menacingly at the protagonist. You've kept me waiting too long, Black Scythe. If you treat me like an underling, I might consider sparing your life. The protagonist scoffed coldly. Kneel and beg, and perhaps I'll let you live. Zhao Zhongji glared furiously at the protagonist. The moment the scythe appeared in the protagonist's hands, Zhao Zhongji realized he had tangled with the wrong foe. But having already uttered his threats, he could only grit his teeth and charge forward. However, the protagonist had no intention of killing him just yet. He needed Zhao Zhongji as a pawn, only then could he extract greater value in the next round. Just then, an angel appeared, shattering Zhao Zhongji's precarious situation. He broke out in a cold sweat. Damn it, that just scared the life out of me. When I become the representative, I will definitely repay you double for the humiliation you just inflicted on me. The angel commanded everyone to focus on the players they would vote for, deep down believing that those who completed their votes would face death. Under the threat of Zhao Zhongji earlier, all eyes were directed at him. The voting concluded swiftly. At the top stood Black Scythe, followed closely by Zhao Zhongji, with Black Flame Dragon in third place. Zhao Zhongji cast a sinister glance at everyone. He was less than 400 votes away from the main character. Fortunately for him, the results still leaned in his favor. Zhao Zhongji had fulfilled his ambition of becoming the regional representative. However, the command power was not as formidable as he had imagined. He could only issue commands a total of 10 times, with each command applicable to a single player and ineffective against those who already had a profession. The angel spoke again. Do you think this is the end? Little did you know, this round has a secret mission. Before voting concludes, find the job transfer item and complete the job transfer. The reward is a 50 discount voucher at today's shop. Everyone stared at the mission, bewildered. The angel informed everyone that the mission window would only appear once they reached level 10. Following that, the angel announced the top 3 rankings. At the top was Black Scythe, level 16, with the profession of Grim Reaper. Second was Demon, level 10, with the profession of Dark Knight, and third was the Fool, level 10, with the profession of Priest. Everyone turned their gaze towards the main character. At that moment, the angel wore a wicked smile. Now that you've completed your job change, your command authority over me is no longer effective. Everyone looked at the angel with suspicion. The angel then announced the power of the regional representative, Zhao Zhongxi, who gritted his teeth, glaring at the angel. He longed to tear the angel apart. Just then, the angel snapped his fingers, and the protagonist received his reward for completing the mission, a low-tier rare equipment exchange voucher and a special reward chest. Before the 3 items, the protagonist chose the leather armor, which boasted an impressive value-cost ratio. The protagonist then activated a special chest and chose the triple experience reward. As the rewards were distributed, everyone returned to the present. Huang Yongming awoke from his dream, gazing at his intact arm, and the memory of the searing pain in the game flooded back to him. He swore to himself that he would never provoke the Black Scythe again. Back in reality, An Shangjae immediately called Ma Jinglu to report on matters concerning the Black Scythe. However, upon returning to the present, the protagonist swiftly activated his tracking skill to lock onto An Shangjae. He quickly donned his gear and followed closely behind An Shangjae. The man had just received a secret token that would advance him to level 10, automatically transforming him into a Shadow Knight, enhancing all attributes and allowing him to harness the power of darkness. He was the son of a leading domestic conglomerate. And Shangje approached Ma Jinglu and recounted the entire process of rescuing the protagonist. When Ma Jinglu found out that the male protagonist didn't need to receive an award, he knew he owed him a favor. Then Shangje gathered the courage to ask Ma Jinglu where to find him when he wanted to switch careers. Ma Jinglu only replied with one sentence: as long as he kept fighting monsters, he would naturally find someone to switch careers. However, Ma Jinglu did not tell him the truth. In fact, he received a rare symbol from the beginning, and as long as he reached level 10, he would automatically switch careers. Even his confidants could not tell him because humans are unpredictable animals. When Shangje left the hotel, Ma Jinglu reminded him to say hello to Black Lotus the next time he played games. The male protagonist immediately called a car home, but he is still considering whether to bring Ma Jinglu to the second round of the competition. Although the symbol of the Dark Knight is strong, its shortcomings are obvious, and there is no next reward after switching careers. One of the fatal drawbacks is that after using dark power, it is necessary to add dark magic. The method of obtaining dark magic is very strict. As a teammate of a madman, there is still a risk. Soon, the male protagonist added Tianmo to the substitute list. The next morning, the owner of a convenience store looked deeply forlorn, his head resting on the counter. At that moment, a cheerful girl with short hair appeared, coaxing a reluctant smile from him. "Dad, why do you sigh like that?" It turned out the reason behind his gloom was the protagonist's consecutive lottery wins, which had led to a nationwide suspension of lottery ticket sales. This situation caused a sharp decline in the store's revenue, nearly leaving them unable to pay the rent. "Julie, you just graduated. You'll find a part-time job to support the family," she reassured her father. Yet he still wore a sorrowful expression. At that moment, Julie raised her hand, a flash of blue light shimmering down upon her father. Instantly, her father felt a surge of strength coursing through his body. It turned out that the girl had completed her second job change and had become a monk's assistant. The skill she had just used was Blessing, which had the power to enhance all of another person's stats. Just then, the protagonist walked into the convenience store. He approached the counter, bowing slightly in apology to the owner. "I saw the news. It's all because of my consecutive lottery wins that ticket sales have been halted." After speaking, the protagonist pulled an envelope from his pocket and handed it to the owner. Inside was 10 million. While it wasn't a significant amount, he hoped the owner could accept it. The shopkeeper quickly shook his head in refusal. However, the protagonist didn't give him a chance to decline and turned to leave the store. The owner stared at the money in his hand and then told Julie to return it to her classmate, Liu Min. "Wait a moment," the protagonist wondered. "Who are you?" The girl explained, "Don't you remember me? We were in the same class." The protagonist, feeling a bit guilty, replied, "I'm sorry, I'm not very good at recognizing faces." In reality, how could he possibly forget her? "You saved me during my 99th resurrection," she reminded him. In that moment, the protagonist suddenly realized that the monk was indeed his classmate. However, pretending not to know her was just a tactic to catch Julie's attention. Julie returned the envelope to the protagonist, but he said, "You should give that envelope to the boss instead. Tell the boss that this money isn't a big deal for me. Tell him not to feel pressured." At this point, Julie asked, "You really don't remember me. I recognized you the moment you walked into the store," she continued. The protagonist shyly smiled. "I'm sorry, I truly can't remember others' faces. And this is our first time talking, right?" Suddenly, the girl stood up and asked, "With my appearance, do you remember me now?" The protagonist promised to remember her in the future, and they exchanged phone numbers. After the protagonist left, a radiant smile appeared on the girl's face, her heart racing wildly. It turned out she had secretly liked him since their school days. To thank him for the 10 million from the meal, she gifted him a purple crystal. In their conversation, she also mentioned that she had switched careers to become an assistant. The protagonist playfully asked, Is it like in the game where you help others boost their stats? Julie raised her hand, ready to use her blessing skill on the protagonist. This skill can elevate all attributes of another by 50 for a duration of 3 hours. The protagonist immediately praises the potency of this skill, exclaiming how powerful it is. Julie cheerfully responds, "Whenever you need assistance, just call on me." After finishing their meal, the protagonist opens his backpack to check the properties of the crystal. The low-level purple magic crystal has an exceedingly low drop rate, yet it exudes a faint aura of magical energy. Everyone is unaware of its true purpose. Only upon reaching level 20 will they comprehend the value of the magic crystal. Players who attain level 20 can then access the fusion function. At that point, they can fuse the magic crystal into their equipment, thereby gaining additional attributes. There are a total of 7 colors of magic crystals, each corresponding to a specific attribute, with the purple crystal being the most precious, capable of enhancing all attributes. The system has provided a hint. Blessing skill is about to expire. Subsequently, the protagonist pulls a pouch of insects from his bag. He activates the kill emblem, boosting all attributes as he crushes every insect beneath his feet. His total attributes double, and at this moment, his luck stat has surged to 45. Then, the protagonist prepares to use the random gold loan. Upon opening, you can randomly receive between 1 to 9,999 gold, with the amount influenced by your luck stat. As the dazzling light of the notification system bursts forth, a message echoes, "Congratulations, you have received 9,999 gold." While watching a car commercial with the protagonist's younger brother, he unexpectedly spots an advertisement and instantly rushes to the driving school to take his driving test. Thanks to his 100 lives, it only took him 4 days to effortlessly obtain his driver's license. After completing the test, the main character promptly bought a flashy Lamborghini sports car. 2 weeks later, at the moment of harvesting cryptocurrency profits, he had skillfully invested 600 billion to earn a staggering 3 trillion won. Upon hearing this, his younger brother was left utterly bewildered. Before he could even celebrate, the younger brother listened anxiously as his elder sibling began discussing stock investments. With worry etched on his face, he pleaded, "Brother, you don't really understand stocks, do you?" The main character, unfazed, responded calmly, "Don't worry, I had a dream that foresaw the future." He then used 2.8 trillion to acquire 31 shares of Giraffe Corporation. The younger brother stood silently beside him, murmuring a quiet prayer. That night, the main character returned from the shop with the gear he had been eyeing, a rib chain that boosted his intellect by 3, and with each defeated enemy, it increased his attack speed by 1. Enhancing his attack speed by a maximum of 25, he used a 50 discount voucher, spending 2,300 gold to acquire this treasure. Time flew by swiftly, and just within a month, the players were summoned back to the game world. The third round took place in a desolate town, right in the heart of its ruins. A brilliant purple crystal radiated in the center. At this moment, Trio Chungchuk made his entrance. The gamers gathered around, buzzing with chatter about him, all believing that someone like him was unworthy to represent them. It should have been the infamous Dai Dao Den instead. Trio Chungchuk glared at them, his anger boiling within as he thought, "This is all that damned angel's fault." Just as the crowd criticized Trio Chungchuk, unexpectedly, Huang Vintmin stepped forward and asked, "Brother Trio, may I inquire if you take on disciples? I wish to join your faction." Trio Chungchuk was left speechless, astonished. Out of the blue, Huang Vintmin knelt down, imploring, "Please allow me to join your faction, Brother Trio." Trio Chungchuk thought to himself, "I've seen all kinds of people, but this is a first." The crowd stared at Huang Vintmin as if he were a fool. Soon, a celestial being appeared, ready to assign tasks for this round. He must protect an artifact for 3 hours. At that moment, the players realized the oddity in the number of those who had progressed. Only a mere 1/4 had met the requirements. Confused, they questioned the celestial being. "Why are there so few participants? Wasn't it supposed to be 50 last time?" Hearing their questions, the celestial being burst into wild laughter. In the previous round, everyone survived, yet this time only 1/4 remain. Is something wrong? The crowd fell silent, caught off guard. The celestial being then began explaining the rules of the game every 30 minutes. Monsters would emerge from the 4 city gates. Their target is the artifact at the center. Your mission is to protect that artifact. If it is destroyed, there will be a horrific punishment for all. Regardless of whether you manage to safeguard the artifact or not, the final survivors will be determined by the number of monsters slain. The celestial being also informed everyone that if the regional representative is killed by a monster, a new representative must be elected. But if a player kills them, the killer will become the new representative. Upon hearing this, everyone turned their gaze toward Zhao Zhongjui, with some even pointing their weapons directly at him. At that moment, the protagonist stepped forward. "I can protect you." The top-ranked protagonist chose to protect his former enemy, but only on the condition that Zhao Zhongjui would obey his orders. This filled those who despised Zhao Zhongjui with dread. If the Black Blade took action, they would have no chance to defend themselves. Everyone intently watched Zhao Zhongjui, waiting for his response. In the real world, having grown accustomed to being the leader, how could Zhao Zhongjui agree? Driven by pride, he refused the protagonist's protection. After that, the protagonist severed ties with Zhao Zhongjui and advanced alone toward the city gate. People looked at Zhao Zhongjui with expressions of disbelief. Did this fool really think that pride was more important than his life? Soon after, armed players approached Zhao Zhongjui. Suddenly, the system announced the appearance of monsters. Zhao Zhongjui knew he couldn't fight alongside everyone, so while they prepared their defenses, he discreetly slipped away. He followed the protagonist into a building, but unexpectedly, the protagonist must defend the city gate on his own. Gripping the death blade in his hand, he charges fearlessly into the fray. With unmatched strength, he descends upon the goblins like a tiger pouncing on its prey, harvesting their lives effortlessly. Wherever he treads, no one survives. In no time, he has wiped out every last goblin, while Trio Trung Truk, lurking in the shadows, feels a chill of fear creeping over him. Observing the other players battling at the different gates, Trio Trung Truk senses trouble. If his kill count doesn't place him in the top 255, then his fate is sealed: death. Seizing the moment amidst the chaos, he stealthily descends to join the fight. Indeed, as the gang's big brother, he swiftly dispatches a few goblins with ease. But just as he revels in his own prowess, a chilling arrow suddenly whizzes past from behind. He covers his ears, scanning the darkness for the archer. A spear then pierces into his side. Instantly, Trio Trung Truk yanks the spear out and retaliates, plunging his dagger into the chest of his assailant. At that moment, another icy arrow flies toward him. Enraged, Trio Trung Truk hurls the spear at the archer, and with a satisfying crack, it finds its mark right in the head. Now, a wave of regret washes over him. Had he known better, he would have accepted Dai Dao Den's proposal. Trio Trung Truk glances toward Hukvium Long, currently ranked 3rd in the area, and immediately asserts his command. With the black fiery dragon protecting him, the initial wave of attacks came to an end in the blink of an eye. Zhao Zhongjiang, feeling a sense of relief, searched for capable allies. Suddenly, an archer aimed for an assassination, but was swiftly captured by the black fiery dragon and Hong Vin Min. Just as Zhao Zhongjiang was about to rejoice, another wave of monsters emerged. The protagonist stood alone before the city gate, wielding the power of deadly talismans and a bone necklace. The monsters fell before him like grass being sliced. Before long, the protagonist reached level 20, enhancing his death mark and acquiring a new skill, Night of Death. Within a radius of 500 meters, darkness enveloped the area, creating an artificial night that triggered the passive effect of the death talisman. Almost instantly, the protagonist activated Night of Death, merging with the shadows. All goblins were cloaked in darkness, unable to perceive his presence until it was too late. In no time, the second wave of attacks was over. The third wave of attacks had come to a close, and soon after, the fourth wave met the same fate. After relentless battles, the protagonist amassed 20,000 gold. He opened a shop and purchased a public detection skill, capable of sensing all targets within a 30-meter radius. Zhao Zhongji stood amidst the crowd with a weary expression. To survive, he had exhausted his command ability 10 times. Before long, the fifth wave of attacks began, this time featuring advanced werewolves. Now, Zhao Zhongji found himself not only facing these beasts, but also needing to guard against players lurking in the shadows, ready to strike. As the players pursued Qiu Chongqi, they sought the hero's protection. Yet, having lost his command, Qiu Chongqi became nothing but a pawn, stripped of his value. In no time, the players closed in. At this moment, Huang Vintmin emerged like a lifeline for Qiu Chongqi, grasping at hope. Little did he expect, Huang Vintmin unleashed a blast of electric cannon fire, sending him crashing to the ground. In a frenzy, he relentlessly assaulted Qiu Chongqi until the system announced that player Huang Vintmin had become the new regional representative. Elated, he let out a triumphant laugh now. He could freely manipulate the starlet Tu Jialing. To turn Jialing into his own slave, he seized the opportunity when the previous representative was distracted, striking with deadly precision and eliminating him. All eyes turned towards him. Without hesitation, Huang Vintmin dashed toward the hero. "I have become the new representative. I am ready to serve you. Please protect me." Seeing Huang Vintmin's arrogant demeanor, the hero flatly rejected him. "I'm not fond of your attitude. Now, you kneel and beg for my mercy, and I might just consider protecting you." Huang Vintmin glanced back, sensing the hostile gazes waiting behind him. To save his life, he was forced to abandon his pride. He knelt, pleading desperately for the hero's protection. In this scene, the hero stood firm before Huang Vintmin, scythe in hand, pointing it at the crowd. "I offer you two choices, either return and battle the monsters, or let me end your lives." Everyone understood the power of the black scythe, so they unanimously decided to turn back and fight the monsters. Before long, the fifth wave of attacks had ended. The protagonist instructed Huang Vintmin to lead 10 people to destroy the sacred relic. Huang Vintmin looked at the protagonist in surprise, for the angel had warned that destroying the sacred relic would incur a terrible punishment. Yet he dared not defy the protagonist's orders. To turn Tu Jialin into his own slave, he hesitated and asked if he could retain command one last time. The protagonist replied, "Don't make me repeat myself if you do. I won't hesitate to appoint someone else." Then he immediately named the 10 chosen ones. All of Huang Vintmin's friends were on that list. To protect his own life, he did not hesitate to call out their names. After giving the order, everyone quickly began to destroy the sacred relic. At that moment, the players received an alert the sacred relic was under attack. Everyone rushed to attack it, but it was too late. The sacred relic was destroyed, and the representative of the divine law would appear in 30 minutes. Panic spread among the crowd, but the protagonist remained calm, waiting for the appearance of the divine law representative. At this time, the system announced that a hidden mission had been activated. Surviving in the hands of the divine law representative for 30 minutes would complete the task. The reward was 3,000 gold. The fear that had gripped everyone instantly transformed into joy. All they needed to do was survive for half an hour. They would receive more gold than by protecting the sacred artifact. However, amidst the joy of some, there were also those engulfed in sorrow. The sacred artifact was destroyed by a player, and that player would permanently lose 50 attributes. Huang Vintmin dared not confront the male lead. He could only glare furiously at the wall. To better counter the representative of the god mage, the male lead purchased 2 items to boost his speed. He then infused the purple magic crystal into the Bone Sea necklace. Instantly, he gathered all the crystals that had just fallen to merge them with his equipment. The reason the male lead wanted to activate the hidden quest was because the god mage representative had holy attributes, while he himself bore the title of the first player to slay an angel. When facing a foe with holy attributes, all his stats would double. Thus, the male lead was confident he could defeat his opponent and claim even greater rewards. As the sky shattered, an angel bathed in pure holy light emerged. The angel struck the ground with its staff, conjuring a purple barrier that enveloped a portion of the players. The god mage representative used a magnetic field to restrict movement, ensuring that no player could escape before the caster lifted the barrier. All player attributes in this arena have been reduced by 50. As the representative of the divine law spreads its wings, countless blades hang ominously in the air. Suddenly, swords rain down from the heavens, and no player can escape their grim fate. The protagonist seizes the opportunity, darting behind the celestial being. Just as the barrier fades, the protagonist launches a surprise attack. Moments later, the celestial being reestablishes the barrier, but the protagonist leaps high into the air, unperturbed by the enemy's potential retaliation, for the divine law representative is deaf to his presence. He prepares to unleash an eternal death upon the representative of the divine law. With all his might, the protagonist swings his scythe. At that moment, the celestial being senses a wave of lethal intent. As he turns, the scythe pierces his eye with brutal force, draining 40 health points in a single strike. Without hesitation, the protagonist swiftly escapes the barrier's confines, for as long as players are not trapped, the barrier will eventually fade away. The protagonist seizes the moment once again, charging at the celestial being. The scythe of death plunges deep into the remaining eye. This time, the protagonist chooses not to retreat, for his foe has become blind, a prey easily dispatched. Being surrounded by the barrier no longer matters. He then invokes the Knight of Death, melding into the shadows, ready to deliver his final strike against the representative of the divine law. In pursuit of greater rewards, a man ruthlessly shatters the sacred artifact that liberates the divine representative. The moment the angel appears, he swiftly erects a barrier, then mercilessly slaughters 300 players. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist circles behind the angel, waiting for the barrier to fade, ready to unleash a surprise attack on the divine representative. He remains unfazed, fully aware that his opponent is oblivious. The divine representative is deaf to the world. Without hesitation, the protagonist casts the mark of death upon the divine representative, channeling all his strength into the scythe. At that moment, the angel senses a chilling aura of death. Just as he turns, the protagonist thrusts his scythe with deadly precision. The blade plunges deep into the angel's eyes. In response, the angel retaliates, launching a relentless assault in every direction. Taking advantage of this chaos, the protagonist unleashes Knight of Death, merging with the shadows, and leaps high, severing the angel's wings in one swift strike. The angel retaliates, swinging his staff with fury. The protagonist, once again, performs a backward flip, soaring through the air, and instantly slices off the angel's remaining wing. At this moment, the divine representative is left with but 10 health points. Yet, the protagonist does not finish his adversary just yet. He quickly creates distance, preparing for the next move. Right after that, the angel wielding the staff stood still, radiating a pure holy light around him. At this moment, the system announced that the divine representative had entered the frozen state, activating the skill Last Light. The angel would become invulnerable for 1 minute. Following that, the angel summoned countless black holes. The angel began to unleash a frenzied attack all around. However, the final efforts of the angel proved futile. The protagonist stood afar, patiently waiting for the invulnerability period to end. As the countdown reached 0, he swiftly dashed towards the angel, brandishing his scythe. He struck directly at the opponent's head. Unexpectedly, he leveled up 3 times instantly. Congratulations! You have successfully defeated the divine representative. You receive 12,300 gold. As the first player to slay the divine representative, you earn the title of God Opposer. This title grants an 80 damage reduction against holy enemies. Congratulations! You have obtained Ethel Essence and the Rune of Light. The protagonist's goal in defeating the divine representative was to acquire Ethel Essence, a material for crafting god-tier items, while the Rune of Light provides an effect that increases intelligence by 1 point and skill effect by 1 with each level gained. Shortly after, all players received notifications of mission completion and were awarded 3,000 gold. Everyone marveled at the overwhelming power of the dark scythe. This was indeed an angel descending from the heavens. Even the angel had to admire the protagonist's strength. After that, the angel asked, "Have you figured out how to eliminate the divine representative, Grom?" The protagonist replied calmly, "Seeing him kill innocent people fills me with rage." The players present immediately shifted their perception of the protagonist, perceiving this as the arrogance of a powerful being. Little did they know, it was for us. As angels of the divine race, they could never comprehend human actions. Just moments ago, they were fighting fiercely, and now they suddenly seek harmony. The protagonist silently mocked them. "You selfish angels, what on earth do you understand?" Then the angel began to announce the final results. First place goes to Black Scythe, second to White Fool, and third to Heavenly Demon. The first area is Black Scythe, and the second is Anthung Trit. Third is Tu Alung. Everyone gazed in astonishment at the protagonist's rank, questioning whether he would receive an unexpected reward. Shortly after, the rewards for the protagonist began to be distributed. The prize for the area champion was a rare supreme-level ring exchange voucher. After reviewing, the protagonist decided to choose the resistance ring, with luck attributes of 4 and resistance of 35. The crucial point is that the resistance cannot be increased through stats. Although it may not be necessary now, it's best to prepare in advance. Soon after, the system began to distribute rewards for the area champions. Unexpectedly, the first choice turned into a stat increase. However, the protagonist knows the contents of the fourth round, so he chooses 4,000 gold. At this moment, the angel smiles in a peculiar way. Finally, we have arrived at my favorite part. Now that you all understand your rankings, prepare to embrace the impending death that awaits you. Those players who do not meet the requirements will slowly perish in fear. Once the game concludes, everyone jolts awake from their nightmare. Huang Vin grabs the desk lamp beside him and hurls it out. "Damn you, Black Scythe, just wait." He then picks up the phone next to him. Huang Vin stares at the phone, his expression akin to someone suffering from constipation. Meanwhile, Tu Alin is ecstatic as he gazes at his summoned creature. In the third round, he has changed his profession to summoner. Thanks to the assistance of the minor spirits, he has successfully risen to third place. He then takes out the reward for achieving third place. I wonder if Dao Den will like this. The man who once commanded his friends to destroy a sacred relic, which led to a permanent 50 reduction in all their attributes. Even after the game ends, Huang Vin still wears a puzzled expression. He looks at the phone screen and sees an incoming call. It turns out to be his friends, calling him out. "How could you use your authority like that with your friends?" Huang Vin yells back, "I had no other choice. If I didn't do it, Dao Den would have killed me instantly." Listening to Huang Vin's explanations, his friends grew even angrier. "Don't pretend to be innocent with us. If you hadn't considered becoming the regional representative from the start, none of this would have happened. You're nothing but a traitor." The more Huang Vin listened, the more agitated he became. "Aren't you the only ones who've weakened? I've grown weaker too. I'm not immune to it." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard curses coming through the phone. "This is all your fault. Don't ever contact us again, whether in the real world or the gaming world. Don't contact me. I fear that if I see your face, I won't be able to hold back and might just kill you." Huang Vin stared at his phone, realizing the call had ended, questioning where he had gone wrong. "I'm a victim too." After that, Huang Vin tried to call back. The result, he found himself blocked. Enraged, he threw his phone away. "I don't need friends like you. Just wait. I will take all of you down." Meanwhile, Anthung Chit sought out Ma Kanglo to report on the mission. Ma Kanglo, concerned, asked Anthung Chit if he was injured, then inquired about his current level. Reporting, "Boss, am currently level 11, and my class is Knight. Tu Alin is at the same level as me, but his class is Summoner." Hearing about the Summoner class, Ma Kanglo was somewhat surprised. That must be a rare class. Anthung Chit agreed, mentioning that their safe return was thanks to the shield provided by the little spirit. Ma Kanglo expressed his gratitude for that. "You need to maintain a close relationship with Tu Alum. If you like her, you might consider asking her out." And Thung Chit glanced at his boss with a hint of suspicion. "Surely she doesn't feel anything for me. She still calls me the bodyguard." Ma Tinglo burst into hearty laughter upon hearing this. "If it's a bother, then forget it, but you still need to keep a good rapport with Tu Alum." And Thung Chit then bowed his head in apology to Ma Tinglo. "I cannot carry out your orders to assist Dao Den, nor can I relay your message to him." Ma Tinglo maintained his smile. "Surely, you have your reasons." and Thung Chit then recounted his experience of facing Dao Den's techniques alone. After contemplating deeply, Ma Tinglo remarked, "I never expected there to be such an unknown variable." "Are you certain Dao Den acted alone?" And Thung Chit firmly affirmed. He seemed well prepared, and with overwhelming skills he crushed his opponent. Ma Tinglo silently mused. "Prepared in advance, huh? No wonder his level is so high. So strong that even I, who possess the Shadow Knight emblem, feel embarrassed. If given the chance, I truly want to meet him." Then, Ma Tinglo inquired about the whereabouts of those who had been pursuing them, the in-game name of the opponent being Huang Vint Nin. Assuming that is indeed his real name, we have narrowed it down from dozens to just 5, based on age and region. The private investigator indicated that it would take a month to pinpoint the exact location. Upon learning the estimated time, Ma Jinglu asked Anshangje how much gold he had accumulated. Anshangje said he had accumulated 20,000 gold. Ma Jinglu said there is a public monitoring skill in the store that you can learn when you have 2,000 gold. Ma Jinglu was also surprised by how many shares the other party currently holds. And Shangja was worried and said, "Please don't be surprised that the other party now holds 31 shares." Although Ma Jinglu is already prepared, she cannot help but be surprised. "Are you sure only one person bought those 31 shares?" Now, Tianma Consulting Company has a market value of 9 trillion Korean won, which means the other party has invested 2.8 trillion Korean won. Ma Jinglu couldn't help but think, was it a wealthy person I don't know, or my other brother who made Ma Jinglu pick up the phone? When the male protagonist lay in bed waiting for Mo Jinglu's call, he would contact me. Suddenly, Liu Yan rushed in and was startled. "Is there any job?" Lu Ming looked at his younger brother, Liu Yan, with confusion and said angrily, "There is a classmate in our class who keeps boasting about his brother's excellence." The male lead sighed. "Don't worry, I'm definitely stronger than him, but for the safety of his younger brother, he didn't tell his younger brother that the protagonist chose a kind-hearted lie." Upon hearing this, the younger brother was overjoyed. "So, brother, what do you do for a living now?" The protagonist immediately replied, "That's a secret." The younger brother, feeling dejected, said, "There shouldn't be any secrets between us siblings. Just tell me," he urged. The protagonist coldly replied, "Get lost, I need to sleep." Just then, Ma Tinglo's phone finally rang. "Hello, I'm Ma Tinglo, the CEO of Tianma Consulting Company. I heard you made a substantial investment in our firm a few days ago, and I would like to invite you to dinner." "Let's meet on Friday," Ma Tinglo suggested with enthusiasm. The protagonist flashed a knowing smile. "Sorry, I'm busy on Friday. How about Saturday?" Ma Tinglo readily agreed. The reason the protagonist declined the meeting on Friday was that he had to go acquire a unique emblem. There are many ways to obtain this emblem, from defeating boss monsters to completing hidden quests, or even as a special reward in gameplay. It might even drop from ordinary monsters, but the odds were extremely low. Therefore, gamers understood well the challenges of collecting these emblems. However, Lu Min knew that in real life, one could also find such an emblem. It was the hidden emblem. These hidden emblems only appeared when certain conditions were met. At this moment, the protagonist, relying on his past memories, arrived at the abandoned factory, waiting for Zhang Xiwan. She had uncovered the secret that Liu Ming was a time traveler, thanks to the mind-reading sigil, and had kidnapped his younger brother to leverage against Liu Ming. This was also the reason the protagonist dared not reveal the whole truth to his brother. The protagonist, masked and lurking within the shadows of the abandoned factory, soon saw Zhang Xiwan arrive, accompanied by a woman. Zhang Xiwan was a notorious thug with 12 criminal records. He had bullied a classmate during high school, leading to that person's tragic demise. Because he was still young, he was only sentenced to 2 years in prison before being released. Upon entering the game, he lost control of himself completely. He exploited the glowing sigil to temporarily blind others, then committed acts of sexual harassment, leaving his victims unaware of who had assaulted them. As time went on, he grew increasingly brazen, continuing his path of crime. In that moment, he suddenly heard the true thoughts of his target, unexpectedly gaining the mind-reading talisman. This revelation led him to uncover Liu Ming's secret. As Zhang Xiwan committed his heinous act, The protagonist appeared just in time, severing the darkness surrounding them. Zhang Xiuan turned, wary, facing the masked figure wielding a scythe. "Kid, get out of here. Be careful, or I'll kill you." As soon as the words left his mouth, the protagonist emerged right before him, delivering a devastating blow to his vulnerable spot. In agony, Zhang Xiuan fell to his knees, and the protagonist turned to the girl beside him, urging, "You need to leave this place, now." Seeing the girl fleeing, Zhang Xiuan furiously drew his sword. "You bastard, I will kill you." Ignoring the pain coursing through him, he charged towards Lu Man. But with his level 9 abilities, how could he hope to stand against Lu Man? In an instant, the protagonist swiftly swung his blade, sending Zhang Xiuan crashing to the ground. His arm that wielded the sword fell in agony. He screamed in despair. Just then, a blinding light flashed, and his remaining arm was severed as well. "If this continues, I will surely die. I have to blind him first." Without hesitation, Zhang Xiuan unleashed a glowing talisman to attack the protagonist. However, the talisman failed to emit the dazzling light he expected, leaving him feeling utterly bewildered. What's happening? Why is it ineffective? The protagonist merely smiled. Before death, no light can shine. The real game has only just begun. As soon as he finished speaking, the protagonist struck at Zhang Xiuan's legs, causing him to collapse to the ground. "You are a demon. We don't even know each other. Why are you treating me like this?" Lu Man coldly replied, swinging her scythe. "Is there a need for humans to justify exterminating pests?" Zhang Xiuan cursed in agony. "Damn it, you're truly insane. You wretched demon," the protagonist quipped with interest. "I hope you can still talk back." With each swing of the scythe, Zhang Xiuan could no longer endure the pain. He stuck out his tongue, intending to take his own life. Lu Man immediately pressed the scythe against his chin. "Death as easy as this is far too cheap for a wretch like you. I will let you taste the chilling terror of death, followed by endless torment." Zhang Xiuan, weak and trembling, pleads, "Please, just kill me." At this moment, the protagonist reveals his true reason for wanting him dead. "In truth, I can't say we haven't met before. You kidnapped my brother and threatened him." Zhang Xiuan immediately denies it. "I didn't do it. I don't even know your brother." "Of course, you wouldn't know, as this hasn't happened yet in your timeline. But for me, that is already a part of my past. If I hadn't intervened, you would have heard the cries of the women you torment, ultimately obtaining the soul-reading talisman. Then you would exploit that talisman to continue your crimes." Zhang Xiuan looks at Lu Min in fear, unable to refute the accusation. Zhang Xiuan realizes he cannot escape death. He continues to gaze at Lu Min and says, "I deserve to die. Please, just end it quickly." Lu Min shakes his head, using his scythe to silence him. "I won't harm you. Regardless, you will die from blood loss soon enough." Feel the cold embrace of death approaching. Unable to voice his despair, Zhang Xiuan can only look at Lu Min with sorrowful eyes. "Don't you desire the soul-reading talisman? Don't you want to hear the honest words from my heart? Why not let me speak?" At this moment, the protagonist interjects, "Because I wanted to test the mind-reading signal." Zhang Xiuan looked at Lu Min in disbelief. "Don't you remember? When you asked me to kill you, I received the mind-reading signal. That was your true desire laid bare. Now, you've obtained what you sought. Why not just kill me already? Isn't it too easy for a monster like you? You are the true embodiment of evil." With those final words, Zhang Xiuan's consciousness began to fade, his breath slipping away rapidly. Moments later, Lu Min activated his mind-reading skill. As he scanned the surroundings and found no one else to sense, Lu Min felt a wave of relief wash over him. He caught sight of the notification from the system, indicating he could now hear the genuine thoughts of his opponent. The hidden condition had been fulfilled. "Congratulations, you have acquired the mind-reading signal. The effect is simple. As long as you keep an eye on your target, you can vaguely hear their thoughts. The maximum range for this ability is within a 30-meter radius." After that, Lu Min turned his gaze back to Zhang Xiuan, utilizing his newly acquired public skill to dispose of his body. In no time, Zhang Xiuan's corpse had vanished. Along with it, the blood disappeared without a trace. The public skill, Trace Erasure, has the effect of eliminating all traces at the scene. This skill seems tailor-made for criminals. It has even spawned a profession of cleanup to erase criminal evidence. Once everything was wrapped up, Liu Min began to devise a plan to meet with Tianma Jinglu. At last, the protagonist is on the verge of meeting Tianma Jinglu. To recruit Ma Jinglu into his ranks, he deceived her into believing that he was a prophet with the ability to foresee the future. The next day, after dealing with Zhang Xishuan and acquiring the ability to read minds, the protagonist donned a luxurious suit, preparing to meet Tianma Jinglu. Those who accidentally spotted him in that elegant attire mistook him for someone on a date. He had to clarify that he was about to invest in a company and needed to meet a business partner. Some even expressed their silent concern, thinking to themselves, last time he poured all his investment into cryptocurrency, and now he's planning to invest in a company again. If he fails, I wonder if he can handle it. However, the protagonist overheard every worry voiced by his younger brother. With a confident smile, the protagonist reassured him, "Don't worry, I will definitely succeed. When I return, I'll share every detail with you. Also, please don't wander outside. The players out there are very dangerous. Some are exploiting their superpowers for malicious purposes. Stay home and wait for me." The others nodded in agreement, mentioning they had seen reports in the news. The protagonist realized that the number of players was dwindling each month while their powers were growing stronger. He understood that the social order was on the brink of collapse, and players would soon hunt down ordinary people, turning everyone into slaves. Therefore, the protagonist needed to quickly acquire overwhelming power and elevate the status of the Black Scythe. Before leaving, he reminded his brother not to eat too many instant noodles. Now that he had money, he should indulge in better meals. Soon after, the protagonist arrived at the five-star hotel he had previously booked. He was well aware that the true owner of this hotel was Ma Jinglu. To keep his identity under wraps, he pretended as if he had never seen the world before. The protagonist feigned concern as he approached the receptionist with a worried expression. In no time, the receptionist guided him to the lounge. He continued to act as if he had never experienced the lavish lifestyle, looking around in bewilderment. A man approached and asked, "Excuse me, are you Lu Min?" "Yes, that's me," Lu Min replied. And Shangja was taken aback upon meeting Lu Min. "Have we met before?" he inquired, a hint of curiosity in his tone. "I believe we crossed paths when I moved houses and brought over a birthday cake. If I'm not mistaken, you were the one standing next to Shu Yaling, right?" Upon hearing this, An Shangje immediately bowed his head in apology to the protagonist. Although he uttered words of regret, doubts about the protagonist's identity lingered in his heart. This young man, not even 20 years old, how could he possibly be a major shareholder worth 2.8 billion baht? However, all of An Shangze's thoughts were caught by the protagonist's keen ears. Embarrassed, the protagonist quickly replied, "Back then, you probably didn't know who I was, and honestly, I didn't know either. The person living above me is actually the chairman of Tianma Group." Upon hearing this, An Shangje immediately shook his head, signaling, "Please don't misunderstand. I am not the chairman. I'm An Shangje, the manager of Tianma Group. It could be that someone is pulling the strings. Please be careful." The male lead listened calmly to the words of An Thungchiat, deep in thought. Shortly after, Ma Kanglo entered the lavishly adorned room. "Hello, Mr. Lu Mun. I am Ma Kanglo, the chairman of Tianma Group. It's a pleasure to meet you." After the two completed their introductions, a waiter entered the banquet room, carrying a tray brimming with an array of delectable dishes. On the table, there was nothing but bean sprouts and spicy kimchi, not to mention the renowned hot pot that was a must-have. The male lead deliberately praised the delicious food here. Through a brief exchange, Ma Kantlo sensed that the other person didn't quite fit the mold of someone who possessed 2.8 trillion. Could it be that he was sent by another family? Then Ma Kantlo chuckled and remarked, "I didn't expect such a young major shareholder. May I ask your age?" Without hesitation, the male lead replied, "I'm 20 this year." Following that, Ma Kanglo bluntly asked, "At such a young age, how could you possibly have so much money? Are you a prodigious talent?" The male lead smiled and waved his hand. "Of course not. Not long ago, I was just an ordinary broke student." Ma Kanglo's expression showed skepticism. Seeing this, the male lead explained, "You must have heard about someone winning the lottery 4 times in a row, right?" That person is me. Mo Kentlo still found it hard to believe. I remember the news saying the prize was only 600 billion. How did it suddenly become 2.8 trillions? The protagonist calmly replied, I invested all my reward money into the cryptocurrency. Ma Kentlo sighed. Your courage makes me feel insecure. The person beside chimed in. Indeed, you are quite lucky. The protagonist asserted, it's not just luck. It's because I have the ability to foresee the winning numbers. Ma Kentlo gazed intently at the protagonist. This is the first time I'm telling someone else that my rune is the rune of the future. The two looked at the protagonist in disbelief. Yes, that's exactly what you're thinking. I am the one who can see the future. To gain the trust of the celestial demon, the protagonist boldly declared himself a seer possessing the rune of the future. The two exchanged incredulous glances. Does the rune of the future really exist? Ma Kentlo asked seriously. Are you joking with us? Lu Mutton laughed. Why would I lie? Instantly, Ma Kentlo pressed. So the lottery tickets you bought before were also thanks to seeing them with the rune of the future. Lu Mutton confirmed. If not, I wouldn't have invested everything into cryptocurrency. Yet, Ma Kentlo remained skeptical. If you truly can see the future, can you predict what I will do next? Although Lu Mutton could read minds and runes to guess Ma Kentlo's actions, he had added some safeguards to the rune of the future just in case. He explained to Ma Jinglu that he couldn't actively trigger the future talisman. Ma Jinglu agreed, acknowledging that powerful talismans like the ability to predict the future naturally come with limitations. At that moment, Ma Jinglu suddenly thought of something. Did you invest 2.8 trillion in that? Does that mean you can see the future too? Liu Min nodded in confirmation. Yes, I've seen in the future that Tianma Corporation will develop rapidly, which is why I invested. Ma Jinglu eagerly asked, May I ask how far has Tianma Corporation developed in the future? Liu Min replied that within 6 months, the company would go public, and within a year, it would enter the top 500 in the world. Ma Jinglu excitedly stood up, thinking, if this is true, I will surely earn my father's recognition. I might even claim the title of heir in one fell swoop. But right after that, he calmed down again. He couldn't believe he was getting so excited over a fanciful statement. At that moment, Liu Min's voice rang out again. If you want to succeed, you'll need to change the business model too. And Shangji, sitting beside him, slammed the table loudly. You might as well change the name while you're at it. Liu Min replied calmly. If we're changing the business model, then of course the name needs to change too. Hearing Liu Min's words, Shangji immediately couldn't sit still. Are you serious about this? Liu Min looked at him with sharp eyes, as if joking. You are all players. Of course, as players and shareholders, I hope everyone can develop together for the success of the company. So I shared my abilities with you. After Liu Min finished speaking, Ma Jinglu still didn't react. You sighed at the male protagonist, Liu Min. It seems that you still don't believe in my abilities. Why did I move to the downstairs of Xia's house? It's also a coincidence. And Shangji couldn't refute it. Mo Qinglu asked. And Shangji, what happened? And Shangji explained that Liu Min moved to Shu Yilin's downstairs about 2 months ago. Qinglu questioned on Shangji, only to find out Liu Min's identity today, that he could not move into the artist's home for future investment. Only when he encountered the future. But soon he denied his thoughts, perhaps because he knew I was training Shu Yaling and Liu Min to use spiritual runes to realize that Ma Jinglu still couldn't believe him. Then Liu Min murmured that the hotel we stayed in was also Ma Dongning's property. Your true identity is the eldest son of the Kimchi Corporation. This company, Tianma, was secretly established to gain recognition from your father, wasn't it? At that moment, Anthong Trit stood up and shouted loudly, Who sent you here? This information is known only to the close relatives of Ma Qinglok. Moreover, Ma Qinglok has requested Anthong Trit to take a seat. He said seriously, what you mentioned is indeed true, but as the department head An has stated, only those within the family are aware of these matters. Now I am even more certain that you are someone sent by my other brothers. How can I trust you in this situation? While I do hope you truly possess the future rune, I still cannot believe what you say. Thank you for investing in our company, but regarding your proposal, I will need to organize a shareholders meeting to make a decision. Just as Ma Qingluk was about to stand up and leave, Lu Min spoke up. I wonder if the content of the fourth round can prove my abilities. Upon hearing this, Ma Qingluk plopped back down into his seat. The mission of the fourth round is not to eliminate monsters, but to engage in battle among players. You all must never let your guard down. After the protagonist left, Anthong Chit still harbored doubts about Lu Min's words. If he truly had such capabilities, he could easily seize 2.8 trillion and enjoy life. Why does he want to help us? Ma Qingluk believes that human greed knows no bounds. Who knows, he might be looking to make even more money. Yet, Anthong Chit still thinks this is too dangerous. The existence of such a rune remains a mystery. Ma Qingluk agrees with this viewpoint. We'll find out the truth when we return after the fourth round. If he truly is a prophet with the ability to foresee the future, we must make him align with us. Just imagine, if we always have information about the next round and can prepare in advance. How beneficial would that be for us, Rang? However, Lu Min only revealed the game details without mentioning any hidden missions. Nonetheless, this knowledge could still serve his own interests, because having a prophet by one's side is undoubtedly better than being with someone else. When Julie arrived at the convenience store searching for her father, she unexpectedly spotted a Ferrari parked right in front. Whose car is this, blocking another store so rudely, Marie? Just then, the car's window rolled down. To her surprise, the owner of the car was none other than Lu Min. Julie gasped in disbelief. Is this Lu Min's car? Lu Min smiled warmly and invited Julie into the vehicle for an exhilarating ride. With the roar of the engine, the two sped through the city streets, leaving everything behind. At that moment, Lu Min expressed his desire to share something important with Julie. Upon hearing this, Julie immediately felt a rush of confusion. Could it be that he was about to confess his feelings to her? Lu Min, sensing Julie's thoughts, quickly spoke up. Don't misunderstand. Julie hurriedly shook her hands, trying to dispel the awkward atmosphere that enveloped them. What do you want to say? Lu Min promptly replied. Earlier, I mentioned that dreaming of winning lottery numbers was a trick. Those numbers I saw are actually winning numbers from the future, revealed through future runes. He also revealed that he was a seer by profession. Upon hearing this, Julie felt a surge of joy for Lu Min. Lu Min, you're amazing. That must be such a unique profession, she exclaimed. Thank you for sharing this with me. Lu Min, being a considerate person, added, You mentioned your abilities before, and I thought that would only be fair. However, Julie had a different perspective on the matter. She only spoke of her professional skills without ever mentioning her own runes. Then, Julie revealed her rune. In the first round, I received a protection rune. It automatically generates layers of protection based on the number of teammates within a 10-meter radius. Lu Min then solemnly conveyed information about the fourth round. He reminded Julie to always stay vigilant and cautious of the teammates around her. Julie couldn't help but blush. Was Lu Min really here just to share this vital information with her? Perhaps Lu Min harbors some feelings for me. Returning home, Lu Min couldn't help but ponder. After enduring 100 cycles of reincarnation, I still failed to realize that Julie liked me. Although this revelation leaves me a bit bewildered, it's also a good thing. It will be easier to pull Julie into my team. Soon enough, the fourth round is about to commence. Lu Min skillfully purchases a piece of equipment known as the Shadow Gauntlet from the store. Its effect allows the user's weapon to become ghostly in the shadows. More importantly, it can synergize with skills. The Death Knight has triggered a chain reaction, causing weapons to remain in a state of ethereality. At this moment, Liu Yan, his younger brother, enters the room. Brother, it's time to play. You must survive and return. Under the watchful care of his brother, Liu Min drifts into slumber. Upon entering the game, at this time, Huang Vin Min gazes into his attributes with a look of despair. All of this is due to that damned black scythe. More importantly, I'm still the regional representative, and it's highly likely that other players will target me, or that old friends might seek revenge. He quickly scans the crowd, swiftly pinpointing the figure of the protagonist. It's all this damn guy's fault. Even though Hong Vin Min wants to tear the protagonist apart, he can only seek refuge under the protagonist's protection in order to save his own skin. Lord William, Do you still remember the promise we made last time? The protagonist smiled softly. Of course, I remember, but I no longer need a useless little brother like you. You've lost your value, and now you're just a moving target. Upon hearing this, he immediately panicked, glancing around cautiously. At that moment, Shung Yi-lum and An Thung-trit were approaching the protagonist. An Thung-trit glanced at Huang Vin-min beside him and said, "Thank you for saving us from those thugs last time." Hearing the word thugs, Huang Vin-min instantly erupted in anger. At that moment, the protagonist signaled him to stop. "No need for excessive gratitude. I don't desire your thanks." As the protagonist turned to walk away, Shung Yi-lum quickly pulled out a low-grade purple magic crystal, saying, "Thank you for saving us last time. I hope you can accept our humble token of appreciation." The protagonist's eyes lit up, surprised to find such a low-grade purple magic crystal. It was an unexpected gift. Seeing Shung Yi-lum so sincere, the protagonist chose not to say much more. He immediately accepted the purple magic crystal from Shung Yi-lum's hand. At that moment, through the mind-reading rune, he heard Huang Vin-min's thoughts. It turned out this dark-faced guy really liked this kind of stone. I wonder if he would like my black stone too. This thought left the protagonist pleasantly surprised. He actually possesses a dark crystal. This rare material is harder to find than even the mystic crystal. I can't believe Huang Yingming got so lucky. In that case, I won't hold back any longer. After Qi Alim and An Shunji left, the protagonist immediately turned his attention to Huang Yingming. Although the regional representative no longer holds any power, there are still many players who haven't switched their classes, so they'll definitely keep an eye on you. This made Huang Yingming feel it was quite reasonable. So what should I do now? The protagonist, seeing that Huang Yingming was being lured in, immediately said, "I can help you, but it will come at a cost. If you can pull out that stone like before, I will ensure you are no longer their target." He eagerly opened his backpack and handed the dark crystal to the protagonist. Huang Yingming immediately asked how he could assist him, but the protagonist turned his back and walked away, saying, "When the game starts, I will keep my promise to help you." At that moment, an angel appeared, and shortly after, the angel began to announce the mission for the fourth round of the game. The system announced that the fourth round has begun. All players must kill each other within 3 hours. Upon hearing this, the players panicked. The angel smiled brightly and said, "In this round, no monsters will appear. All you have to do is eliminate the player next to you." At this moment, one player raised a question. "So if half of us survive, we can pass the level. Does that mean each person just needs to kill one player?" The angel replied, "That's a secret. Simply put, killing players who fail to complete their quests will only allow them to reach the top 521 to progress through the level. As for how the ranking works, that's something you all must uncover for yourselves." Yet the protagonist is privy to this hidden information. These angels are merely game promoters, not the game organizers. The hidden rules are actually prohibitions set by the organizers. At the moment when players are at a loss for action, the protagonist seeks out Huang Vin-min, declaring, "I will keep my promise and ensure you are no longer the target of everyone." Immediately after, the protagonist strikes with lightning speed. Huang Vin-min's life has come to an end. This is a notification from the system, informing you that you have completed a hidden mission. Within the time limit, you have eliminated the regional representative. The reward is a lottery ticket of the lowest rank. Everyone stares in horror at the protagonist. Then they begin to label him a cold-blooded, ruthless killer. However, the protagonist quietly listens to the thoughts swirling in their minds. We can take this opportunity to tarnish the image of the Black Scythe and stir everyone to eliminate him. In that moment, the protagonist breaks into a light smile, thinking to himself, "What a bunch of fools." Seeing this, the crowd grows bolder in their verbal assaults against the protagonist. This is a notification from the system congratulating the player Black Scythe for becoming the new regional representative. Upon hearing this, everyone falls silent, as if time itself has stopped. The protagonist, witnessing this, bursts into laughter, feeling even more exhilarated. "Why is everyone so silent? Are you afraid now that you've seen me become the new representative?" As soon as he finished speaking, the protagonist's name shifted to a deep crimson red. The moment they saw his name change color, everyone instinctively took a step back, their hearts pounding. Only the protagonist understood that the moment a player kills someone, their name would turn red. Moreover, the more kills they racked up, the darker the hue would become. This way, players could easily identify the murderers by the color of their names. They would prioritize eliminating those with red names, believing it would ease their guilty consciences. However, those who attacked players with red names would also find their own names stained crimson. The organizers employed this tactic to incite chaos among the players, driving them to turn on each other. Yet, there were still some players hesitant to act, caught up in intense debates among themselves. At this moment, Hwang Vin-min had just died, but suddenly awoke, his expression serene. The crowd looked at him in disbelief, their jaws dropping. They collectively speculated that the system would resurrect fallen players. This unexpected turn of events lifted the players' worries almost instantly. All players in the area began to dive into battle. As the slain players resurrected and stood up, a sense of dread evaporated from the air. It wasn't long before the entire game zone erupted into chaos. The protagonist cast his gaze toward Hukwin Long, knowing that his symbol could absorb energy from slaying monsters and humans alike. When the energy is fully gathered, it can randomly enhance certain attributes. Therefore, we must crush the Black Origin Dragon before he grows stronger. Moreover, the Black Origin Dragon is a ruthless killer who does not hesitate to take lives. Just as the Black Origin Dragon revels in the chaos of slaughter, darkness suddenly envelops him. The Black Scythe, wielding a menacing sickle, approaches with a swift whoosh as the blade slices through the air. The Black Origin Dragon reacts quickly, but in the blink of an eye, 3 hours pass, and the angels reappear before the players. They also cease their actions. The players who had just perished gradually resurrect. Congratulations to the Black Scythe for completing the hidden mission. Within the allotted time, he has slain the regional representative. The reward is a low-tire lottery ticket. All eyes turn to Hwang Vin-min. Regret fills the air, as everyone realizes they should have eliminated Hwang Vin-min from the very beginning. Meanwhile, Hwang Vin-min wears an expression of disbelief. Could it be that the Black Scythe has killed me once McQuarrie? He then recalls the previous agreement with the damned Hak Lin. I want him to live in turmoil. As the fourth round concludes, the angels are equally astonished. Who could have imagined that the Black Scythe would single-handedly slaughter 70 players? In truth, the mission isn't merely about players racking up kills. It's only by eliminating various foes that one can truly claim victory. Everyone gazed in astonishment at the leaderboard. The Black Scythe had dispatched a staggering 722 unique players. The protagonist remained firmly at the top, dominating both the local and global rankings. Soon after, the celestial beings began to present rewards for the top player, an exclusive ticket to choose the rarest armor. Players could select from 3 exquisite items. The protagonist chose the blood-red assassin. Next came the reward for the overall champion in the region. Among the 3 choices, he opted for number 5, granting him a boost of 50 attributes. Once the rewards were distributed, the angels smiled and declared that the condition to advance this time was simply, you must eliminate 30 more foes to enter ranking 521. With that, the celestial beings began to deal with those players who failed to complete their tasks. Players who fell short pleaded with the angels for mercy. Meanwhile, Hwang Vin-min chuckled joyfully, surprised that he had miraculously survived. After the penalties concluded, the system announced congratulations for surviving. The time for the next game would commence at midnight on May 1st. Back in reality, An Thung Trit hurriedly burst into Ma Kainlo's room. Ma Kainlo looked at An Thung Trit with a relaxed expression and said, "Give me one good reason why you woke me up." Shangze quickly explained that I couldn't contact you. I thought something had happened to you, so I hurriedly rushed into Majingla's room and comforted me with a smile. Can something happen to me? Didn't you see that I already saw my own position? And Shangze scratched his head and smiled bitterly. I saw that you killed 430 people and finished 3rd, but I'm still worried about you. After all, this round was too spirited. Ma Jinglu covered her face. Yes, too spirited, so I fell asleep as soon as I came back, killed 433 people, and was tired. What kind of monster is this mysterious creature that has killed over 700 lives? It would be great if he could cooperate with it. Soon after, Ma Jinglu decided to search for information about the enemy from the prophet. At the same time, Anshangje's mission is to find Lu Min to cooperate with. He also promised Anshangje that even if he changed the direction of the company, he would bring Lu Min to his side and not underestimate them, because they were young, but learn to coordinate. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anshangze immediately nodded in agreement, and Mo Jinglu asked him to hold a banquet to celebrate all the survivors. He even suggested that Anthung Chit invite Lu Mun to the party and believed that Sua Lum should join as well. After all, who could refuse a beautiful girl known for her exceptional wine-pouring skills? The next day, to express her gratitude for the information Lu Mun had shared, Julie invited the protagonist to a lavish feast. "Thank you so much," Lu Mun said. "Thanks to you, I now know that I need to kill at least 30 people to pass this trial." Though Julie appeared cheerful on the surface, her heart was burdened with sorrow. The protagonist could sense the torment and guilt weighing heavily on Julie's soul due to the bloodshed. The protagonist reassured Julie that she shouldn't blame herself too harshly. It was a mission that required her to take lives. Yet, Julie still found it hard to release her anguish. The protagonist sternly asked if she had ever thought about her loved ones when she returned home. Did she plan to just sit and wait for death? "Do you want your family to endure a lifetime of pain?" he pressed. "Hold on to hope. Thank you for comforting me." "I've realized what I need to do," Julie replied. After coming to a clear understanding, her spirits lifted instantly, and she began to immerse herself in joy. After the meal, the male lead told her that this meeting was to inform Julie about the details of the 5th round. This round would be tougher than all the previous ones, and all regions would be merged together. Julie gasped in excitement. "So I can meet you, Liu Min." The protagonist, concealing his identity, answered cryptically that she would indeed meet him. "Not in the 5th round. Specifically, which round it is, don't dwell on it too much. Right now, you need to listen closely to what I say. In the 5th round, you must seek help from the Black Crescent organization." Upon hearing this, Julie felt a wave of dizziness. "Are you talking about the Black Crescent, the most powerful organization in the entire region? Will they agree to help me?" The protagonist explained that it wouldn't be called helping, but rather collaborating. She needs to utilize her support skills to combine forces with the Black Crescent. At that point, they will ensure she navigates the trials smoothly. Hearing this, Julie still felt anxious. She feared that the Black Crescent would reject her. The protagonist spoke seriously, reassuring her. "Don't worry, I have seen the future. The Black Crescent will not only collaborate with you in the 5th round, but you two will work together even more in the future." To show her gratitude for the information provided, Julie used her blessing skill on him. The system announced that all of your attributes have increased by 50. A warm wave of energy spread throughout her body. Then, the protagonist smiled at Julie. Seeing Lu Mutton's radiant smile, Julie suddenly felt her cheeks flush, thinking to herself how incredibly handsome he truly was. Once home, the protagonist couldn't wait any longer and immediately took out 100 worms to crush. With Julie's support skills, Lu Mutton's luck stat has soared to an impressive 84 points. The protagonist then pulls out a lottery ticket from the mana crystal, a reward for completing the hidden quest of the 4th round. Using it could yield 1 to 5 low-level mana crystals influenced by the luck stat. Unable to contain their excitement, the protagonist immediately uses the item. The system chimes in. "Congratulations, you have received 5 low-level mana crystals." The protagonist quickly combines 2 low-level red mana crystals to obtain a single low-level red mana crystal. In no time, they complete the enhancement of the mana crystals. The protagonist's stats continue to rise. That evening, Lu Mutton informs his younger brother, Lu Nguyen, about the banquet invitation. Upon learning that the host is the heir of the top conglomerate in the country, Lu Nguyen is instantly struck with panic. Just then, a knock sounds at the door. The visitor is Shu Alam, whom Lu Nguyen had met earlier, accompanied by a bodyguard. I apologize for my rudeness the last time, he says. Soon, the three arrive at the Ma Kang Lo Hotel, where the host warmly greets them. He enthusiastically introduces himself to Lu Nguyen before leading everyone into a private room. Just as everyone settles into their seats, the door swings open. In walks the star, Shua Lum, with a face full of apologies for being late. Ma Kang Lo reassures him that there's no problem and urges Shua Lum to greet the major stakeholders. What Shua Lum doesn't expect is, the major shareholder turns out to be the neighbor who gifted rice cakes to her. Right after that, Shua Lam sweetly greeted the two. Her younger brother immediately felt his heart racing. Brother, is that really the star? Shua Lam, I can't be dreaming. Seeing her brother's expression, Ma Kin Lo suddenly had a much more interesting idea than just inviting a fortune teller. At this moment, Ma Kin Lo asked the protagonist why he didn't bring any family members along. Without hesitation, the protagonist replied that his parents had passed away. Hearing this, Ma Kin Lo couldn't help but silently blame herself. It was surprising to bring up the painful memories of the fortune teller. To ease the awkward atmosphere, Ma Kin Lo turned his gaze to Shu Ya-lin. He called Shu Ya-lin to step outside for a moment. As they left the private room, Ma Kin Lo asked Shu Ya-lin if the dinner was to her liking. Shu Ya-lin beamed as she replied that the food was delicious. Hearing this, Ma Kin Lo's expression darkened immediately. I didn't call you just to invite you to eat. I wanted you to lighten the mood. Why are you so foolish? Shu Ya-lin bowed her head in apology. She explained that she thought it was just a regular party. Ma Kin Lo sighed. Did Antoine Triet not tell you that the major shareholder is the fortune teller? Shu Ya-lin was taken aback, and seeing her expression, Ma Kin Lo realized that Antoine Triet had kept this from her. So you understand why I called you here, right? No matter if you have to put on a show or do whatever it takes, your job is to make Lu Man happy. And you must also ensure that Lu Man's younger brother is cheerful as well. You get what I mean, don't you? Su Ya-lin hesitated, admitting she couldn't do it. Ma Kin Lo replied coldly, I can raise you to the heights, but I can also drag you down into the mud. This is not the time for me to beg you. Remember your own status. Hearing this, Shu Ya-lin could only lower her head in silence. He understood well the schemes and the power that Ma Kin Lo represented. Then he declared he knew exactly what to do. When Ma Kin Lo returned to the VIP room, he instructed everyone to move elsewhere to continue the festivities. As the crowd began to disperse, Tu Ah-lin took the initiative to approach her brother for a chat. Little did she know, the male lead had uncovered Ma Kin Lo's plans through his telepathic abilities. He had already known what Ma Kin Lo intended to do. Subsequently, the male lead asked Tu Ah-ling and her brother to step outside for a photo. The moment her brother and Tu Ah-ling left the VIP room, the male lead fixed a dark glare at Ma Kin Lo. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Do you think I'm unaware of the conversation between you and Tu Ah-ling? Don't forget, my profession is a seer. Nothing can escape my sight. I just want to establish a good relationship with the major shareholder. The male protagonist coldly replied, It's enough for you to make Shu Ya-ling please me, but you shouldn't let Shu Ya-ling do that. His brother lowered his head and apologized. I won't let this situation happen again. I hope you can forgive this impulse. And the male protagonist won't be too difficult either. Don't always think about playing pranks. I'm just here to inform you of the news for the 5th round. Besides, I don't want anyone to oppose me in the process of running my company. Can you persuade other shareholders? Mo Jinglu agreed. I will do my best to make them obey my orders. This is the most difficult round so far, with the task of destroying 300 to half of the monsters. Most importantly, all regions will merge. Ma Jinglu excitedly asked. The male protagonist shook his head. Although you won't meet this time, you will soon meet again. Finally, the male protagonist requested that Magic Mirror Road stop investigating Huang Yongning. If you continue to investigate, it will bring about a fatal disaster. The male protagonist shook his head and said, Although you didn't meet this time, you will meet soon. Finally, the male protagonist demanded that Luo Jinglu stop investigating Yongning. If you continue, you will be in trouble. Luo Jinglu will only give in. As Lu Mutton returned home, a shadow of despair enveloped his expression. Soon after, he sought out a man to unleash a merciless slaughter. The man, racked with pain, pleaded to know what he had done to provoke such wrath. Lakinlo smirked, his gaze laced with cruelty. Is a child abuser not deserving of death? The man countered, claiming that it was an old story from years past. I've already endured my sentence in prison now. I'm just an ordinary man. Lakinlo's eyes turned icy at his words. Letting scum like you survive is a crime in itself. Then, Lakinlo summoned dark magic that engulfed the man whole. It turned out that in order to replenish his dark power, he had to commit murder. Killing yielded far more dark energy than vanquishing monsters. For Lakinlo, the one who relished judging the guilty, he was destined to be the Dark Knight forged for this very purpose. At that moment, Lakinlo suddenly sensed a gaze fixed upon him from behind. He spun around quickly, only to find a little cat. Breathing a sigh of relief, he had intentionally sought out a secluded spot, hoping no one would discover him. Lakinlo looked up at the sky. Perhaps Lu Mutton had seen him through the signs of the future. Maybe he was deliberately approaching a serial killer like himself. How intriguing. At this moment, Lu Min was lying on the bed, absorbed in her phone. Perhaps it was time to harness one of the 5 crucial symbols of the real world, the symbol of duplication. A heartfelt thank you to the parents who have been following this journey. The first season of this comic has come to an end. We hope everyone will continue to show their support.